it now.
All right. Pour in a little bit of the red line, right? Welcome folks, MACT here, and I have a video of 1,200 hours of oil change history on a 3.5 Duratec 2011 Ford Edge that started at approximately 200,000 miles and is now well over 250,000 miles on this Duratec. So in this process, I have went through approximately 16 different brands of oil. Yes, that's a lot of different brands. Some of them, of course, were cocktail mixes, with others just ideally single brand oil use. So I'll point out the mixtures or cocktails, as I say, and all of this is purchased, paid for by me. I do not have any sponsorship, so don't think that this is coming from any particular oil company or testing laboratory, because I paid for this out of my pocket. Now, if you look at each oil test, you got to figure in there approximately $30 per oil test, plus the last 3 I did a TBN, which adds another 30 on it. So it's, you know, well over or approximately getting close to $200 I put into this testing. So if you want to help me pay for this, you can also donate to my MACTFORDEDGE.com website. Just go there, hit the donate button, and donate to the cause, or I can share a link on my Facebook group, MACTFORDEDGE on Facebook, and MACT Garage on Facebook if you want to go there. But the MACTFORDEDGE.com website is there for you all, and I do a lot of stuff on there and provide the oil testing results in that website. So if you want to find more information on the 3.5 Duratec and the oil testing results on associated oils with it, then that's where you're going to go to find that information. Now, that is all good and dandy, but we want to get to this oil testing. It started out at 200,000, ended at 250, and I go by hours, folks. Hours is the most accurate form of measurement for oil usage, because it covers the time the engine's running, not the time that it's moving. And for a lot of us, that's a lot of added time, and that decreases your oil change intervals, and not all oil life monitors account for this time of running of the engine. So essentially you're overusing your oil in some aspects when you think you're good, and that's not good, because I have a 2011 Ford Edge that's all city driving, and I have my 2011 Ford Edge that is all highway, and these test results are based off of highway driving. Okay, my other Edge, I have oil test results on city, and it's not always a good result. Let's just keep it that way, but this is that one. So 1,200 hours of oil usage test results coming up. On the first part here, we're going to show overall we have the universal averages, which is what all oil samples gathered by the laboratory for all combined Duratecs. Okay, this is what they come up with overall for all the testing. So we're going to base that off of my oil test and start from there. So as you can see, that's the Duratec testing that everybody sees, and we're going to move on to the next part. And as you can see, we have the Mobile One 520 I tested at 199 hours of July 17th, 2017 is when I changed that oil. And overall, it came in pretty good with the averages at or near everything that you'd be looking at. A couple key points: it had the Molly B, and then of course we had the boron in there, but had calcium 1355, and then the other numbers: magnesium, phosphorus, zinc. And as we see at the very bottom, the ultimate end of it was 53.8, which is right smack dab in the middle of the values that it should be for the viscosity testing, with an 8.41 on the CST viscosity. As far as the Flashpoint, 415 degrees, and the insolubles in it was right on par with almost all the other testing. Next, we go to the 204-hour oil change, and that is the red line. Yes, that is the top tier oil, and we can see that thing had a ton of Molly B in it, 518. It also had a ton of the calcium in there, along with a very high level of zinc, and it turned out to be a lot better case in its viscosity testing, definitely higher than the Mobile One, and running right within standards and doing a good job. As far as iron wear or anything else, it was right in universal standards pretty much, along with the Mobile One. So no pluses, no minuses there. Everything was good to go. Next, we have my cocktail, and this cocktail consisted of one quart each of the red, let's see, Royal Purple, Red Line, Schaefer's, Royal Purple HPS, Mobile One, and Mobile One High Mileage. Yes, what I did is I added some really good stuff with some lower quality stuff to hope to get a little bit of a good reading on it. And this oil cocktail turned out pretty good. Pretty much it was right there with all the universal averages, staying with a little bit of aluminum on the high side in this one. But that might account for some of the oils having aluminum content too. The Molly B definitely took a dive down to 180. Probably the red line couldn't make up enough for it, so that drug it down. And then we have some titanium. Yes, the highest titanium rating so far to this test. Then we get into our boron and silicons, but then our calcium definitely took a nosedive also. Again, the red line and some of the oils just couldn't make up the difference of what the red line generally had. And it was brought down also, along with our zinc and our phosphorus were brought down. The overall part of it is, let's see, the SUS viscosity is 53.7, which is right along with what we tested the Mobile One at, and is also brought down to about where the Mobile One was. So you can see the red line couldn't make up for a lot of it, and the other ones definitely, since they're lower quality, brought the whole test results down. But overall, on that 191 hours, it was a good test also. Now we're looking at the Kendall Gt One Oil. We did 203 hours on it. That, I think, was the second highest number of hours I had taken any oil. And in this case, this one definitely don't have as much Molly B, but the wear metals were probably the closest at this point to universal averages, staying at or below them for the most part. So that was a good thing. That titanium must have been a good thing. But the Molly was down, like I said, and the titanium was at 74, which is the highest titanium in any oil. And again, this GT1 is called liquid titanium, so that would probably fall in line with that. The calcium on its own boosted up to over 2,000 parts per million. And then, of course, the zinc was down just a bit from some of the others. It did not have quite as much zinc or magnesium, phosphorus, or anything else that was going with that. But overall, it had a 53.4, which put it right on par with a few of the other baseline oils we've been doing, and along with an 8.31 for the CST viscosity testing, and a 400-degree Flashpoint, which means that it was right up on par with a lot of the higher end ones. Basically is second to the bottom or something, but it still did pretty good for what it was, and that was definitely, I like that oil. I thought it was decent. Next one, we have another motor oil cocktail. We have the regular Royal Purple. We had the Pennzoil Platinum, that's right. The STP, not many people use that. The Valvoline Synthetic, and the Castrol Edge. With that being said, we ended up with some universal averages that were pretty darn good. A little bit higher on the aluminum. Again, there's a lot of aluminum in oils from leaching processes, so I don't put a lot into that if it stays right around the universal average. The iron was definitely below the universal average. Here they pumped up. Hey, guess what? It went up 200 parts per million. So it had a little bit more of the Molly B additive, but our calcium again took a little bit of a nosedive because a lot of them use lesser calcium. But the zinc did pop up a bit because they probably used a little more zinc in all these combined. and I would assume that's what the results of that was. The SUS viscosity came out to 54, which means it was pretty high. Again, not the highest, but it was a pretty good showing. And then the 8.4 and 9 puts it right there in contention with the others. Actually, I think it was the highest one of the group so far, and it came in at a 405. Yes, 405 on that one. And as far as Flashpoint, and here we have a 3.7 for a total base number. That means anything below 1 in this is not really any good, and this was a 3.7, so that means the oil still had some good valuable additive life left in it. And I did skip the other one. It was the last one was a 1.4, and that was pretty much worn out at that point. You're down to 1.4, it's no good. So going back and looking at the other one, I skipped that. The TBN on there was definitely going down south. So as far as this cocktail, hey, the TBN did a good showing on it. Then, last but not least, the last oil change at 250,000 miles was Pennzoil Platinum that made it to the gate, and I changed it out at that last set at 250,000 miles with 201 hours on it. You know, as far as things go, 79 was the Molly B, which is not the highest in any of the group by any means, but you know, it was there. Universal averages for metals and chromium and iron and everything were well within the standards for this oil, so it did pretty darn good. The boron was decent, not the highest, and the calcium was definitely up there running next to the red line. Yes, had a very good calcium number. And then the phosphorus and zinc were pretty much, you know, run-of-the-mill, sticking with it and not having too much of a problem. The SUS viscosity on this was 56.2, which puts it at nearly the highest one, second to the highest. I think the red line was just a tad bit more. And then we had a 9.11, which also put it at the very outside edge of that CST viscosity. As far as the TBN goes, we had a 3.9, which was the best showing of the whole lot. I did not do a TBN on the first oil changes, so I like the red line and everything. I don't have that. But again, 3.9. That says I could have drove that oil a few hundred, you know, a few more hours and probably been good. But I do cap it off at 200 for continuity's sake, and so that everybody can actually see what's going on at a certain number of hours. Now going back, if you look to the pictures here, as far as the testing goes, you will see some other things that I did that, you know, you got to ask yourself what's going on, and you know, how did this all work out. And the testing I did involved these I think it was 16 different types of oil, as you can see. Mixtures don't mean much. Yeah, I did the cocktails, came out with pretty good results. It did not affect the engine, and the engine's doing very, very well. So, you know, we want to stick with how things are going and change our oil. That's really what this comes down to. Change your oil, but monitor it. I have deducted from all these that, you know, by going and doing my testing, I know I can do 200 hours, which comes out to roughly on the average of 10,000 miles. So knowing that, and it's all highway, I know I can safely hit 10,000 miles with this. I use the Purelator Boss filter. It's good for 15,000 miles, so I'm not exceeding the filter's capacity. It's doing a great job. It's providing me with good insoluble rates. 0.2, 0.3, which is excellent, and I don't have any problems with it. I've tried other filters, and I'm sure other filters were used on it before I bought it, but I have proven that the Boss does a good job, and for testing sake, I use the same filter all the time. So changing your oil, using a good filter, and monitoring your oil test results occasionally gives you the benefit to know, can I stretch it, or should I slow it down and change it earlier? But these test results will prove that you don't have any problems. I will make a final note. If you look at this other screen again. We're going back to it, and that was the Royal Purple, Pennzoil Platinum, SDP, Valvoline, all that stuff. It has a 3.7. I had to cut that testing short because I was down to, I think, over 1.5 quarts of oil. Now, this was not the oil problem, and the reason it was 174 is I chose to change the oil and sample it early because I took the valve cover off and replaced the valve cover. All these samples up until the Pennzoil were all down well over a quart of oil each time, and when I changed it this time, I changed the valve cover. That Ford had an updated valve cover, and it resulted in only 1/2 a quart loss when I did the Pennzoil thing. So, you know, that made a world of difference as far as oil consumption. So I'm generally halfway down the stick when I do my 200 hours now, and that is perfectly fine by me. So if you wonder why I did 174 on that test, that is why, because the valve cover was sucking the oil out and going into the intake, and it wasn't baffled right, so I did that. But this is the oil test results, folks, and I just want you all to, of course, join up on MACTFORDEDGE on YouTube, and also make sure you like and subscribe and anything. Help donate. Yes, help keep this so I can do more oil testing without having to get sponsors or anything else. This comes out of my own personal account and budget, so I appreciate any and all help you guys can afford to me on this. And as far as that goes, my feet at the floor today. I'm having a great day, and I want you to have a great day too. And we have the Band of One music at the end, and Mercy Grill's going to toss a couple one-liners at you, and I might just toss some crazy footage at the end. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see.
Yes, no.
All right. Pour in a little bit of the red line, right?
You have to dump all that?
Yep. There.
And now where is it?
And I'm going to dump this. Make sure you videotape me dumping this now. Not too close. Get back so you can get it. That's purple, isn't it?
Yes. Kind of like coloring. Almost.
Yep. Now I'm going to dump this one in.
That's yellow, see?
Yep, different color, isn't it?
Now, which one are you dumping in? Where's the name of that one?
This one's Super Tech. Walmart oil.
Super Tech?
Yep.
Oh, okay. It's awesome.
Awesome oil.
Yeah.
And more Mobile One.
That's yellow again.
And this one, get a picture of this one. This is a special oil too. Look at that. Different color, isn't it?
Gray, green.
It's green, isn't it?
It's over.
Oh, it's pouring out on the ground.
Nice.
Did we remember to put the plug back in?
Let's check. It's nothing there.
Okay.
You're good. So I'm going to stop this. Try.
Yep.